still says, now it says, well, you caught me at the beginning. I'm trying to figure out how to record on this damn thing. And I'm getting there, little bit. Now then, of course, this is originally named Doing a Podcast, Eating Noodles at the Same Time. But when I went on YouTube looking for it, you wouldn't believe how many people are eating noodles and doing podcasts at the same time. It's unbelievable. So we've renamed the program to something I sort of like. It's called John Sees, as in grasp, the world. Or is it sees? I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I guess it's going to be one of the two. You won't see that in the banner because I need to fix that next week. I'm pretty much reached the end of my, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know. Yeah, I've reached the end of the point, or I've reached a point where I can't do much more tonight. But that's okay. I'm going to subject you to things and tell you stories. And Sock Monkey, yes, look, it's Sock Monkey. Sock Monkey came in to say hello. All right. He says his name is Chippy. Chippy, you don't look like a Chippy to me. You look like a Sock Monkey. All right. Okay, that was Richard. That's my buddy Richard DeLuz, also known as Vomit Saw. If you ever want to look him up on YouTube, he's the one that helped me put this all together. Thanks to him, I have a mic and I have various accoutrements, which works. So if you're going to be judgy or like, oh, that sucks, and who does this guy think that he is and whatnot, don't bother watching. Just go ahead and hang up. Change the channel, man. Turn the knob. That's what we used to do when I was a kid. Turn the knob. Change the channel. But then we only had 3 channels. That's right. 3. 1, 2, 3. And everything went off at midnight. At midnight, the television station would stop broadcasting. That's see how I did that 10 and 2? Midnight. Yeah, I've got fingers. All of them. And I was a printer too at one time, which is surprising that I've got all my fingers. That's another story I'll tell you another time.
What happened to your hair, John?
Oh, what happened to my hair? That's simple. I used to have hair down to here and whatnot. You know, I used to have hair down to my ass. But then I grow my goatee. And every time I yanked on it, a little less hair. Now there's none. I've been yanking on this fucker for, well, I shouldn't say that. I've been yanking on this for years. Yeah, so, yeah, there's no hair left. That's okay. I don't mind being bald. As my friend Tom would tell me, the first time he saw me after I shaved my head, that's the perfect example of a noggin I've ever seen. Yeah, Tom, I appreciate that. Not a bad thing. So I'm going to tell you a couple stories tonight. And if I look down at my script here as to what I'm going to tell you, you know, you're going to have to forgive me doing that, and I don't mind. So I used to work in radio. I worked at several stations. Now, I don't know if this is going to get me in trouble as far as copyright infringement, or they're going to be embarrassed. I know one of the stations no longer exists. But I used to work at WOAI Radio in San Antonio. Then after I spent 4 years in the Navy, I worked at KRNN in San Antonio, which no longer exists. And then I worked at KTSA San Antonio. Okay, when I was at WOAI, I worked the AM side. And my buddy who worked country station there was on the FM side, maybe about 20 feet from my studio and his studio. His name was Dave. I'm not going to tell you his last name. I'm not even going to tell you the name that he used. It was Dave Diamond, I believe, was his studio, was his name on the radio and such. But one night, I decided, hey, I've got a joint. Yeah, let's go see if Dave wants to go on the roof and smoke a joint. You know, we'll get some creative juices going here and whatnot. I got a long tape on, and he's got several long songs he could put on there. So I get up and I go over to Dave's studio and I walk in. I'm like, hey, Dave. And he looks up at me from behind his console. He goes, hey, John. And there's a young lady in there. Rather nice round figure from behind. And he goes, John, this is my girlfriend. I don't remember her name. It really doesn't matter. But then he says, John, can you come back in about 10 minutes? I go, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll see you later, Dave. I'll see you later, girlfriend. And she never turned around, looked at me or anything like that. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. That's a strange thing. So I went back to my studio and kept running my tape, and doing what you would do in a radio station, and I'm figuring, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. What the hell? No one's going to be here before 6. We still got time. So about 10 minutes later, I go back into Dave's studio, and I'm sitting there. I go, hey, Dave. He goes, hey, John. And he goes, well, yeah, she's gone, man. I go, yeah, okay, so your girlfriend's gone. He goes, John, that was funnier than hell. And I go, what do you mean it was funny? Well, what are you talking about, Dave? He says, John, when you walked in last time, she had my dick in her hand. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, that's why she wouldn't turn around and look at you, because her face was red as hell and she couldn't believe she got caught without being caught. Like, wow. Hey, Dave, why don't we go up on the roof and let's smoke a joint? And that's pretty much what we did. We went up and smoked a joint and laughed our asses off about it. So that's Dave, his girlfriend, and his dong story. Now, the next story I'm going to tell you, I like to call this the heterosexual story. This was when I worked at KRNN Studios, and you're going to have to forgive me because I do drink even when I'm broadcasting. I hope this isn't going to offend Shiner Bach or anything, but yeah, that's good. Anyways, this is back when I worked at KRNN Radio. We had gone from a pop music format to a show tunes format under a new production manager, studio manager, whatever you want to call him. And this fella was gay, which is fine. No big deal. So he's gay. We're talking 1987 when I was working at that radio station. And I didn't mind that, not one bit. And that year, during, as Halloween was coming up, he informed each and every one of us that when you come to work, and I usually work the 6 to midnight shift, he said, when you come to work, I want you to come in costume for Halloween. And I thought, okay, that's different, but whatever. So that night I went to work. I was wearing a pair of ripped up old jeans and scuffed up old cowboy boots and literally had holes in the heels, but I didn't care. I liked them that way. I was wearing a Cozumel Muff Diver t-shirt and a black leather vest. And of course, back then I had hair. That was before I started doing this anyways. If I do this, I'd have hair on the sides at least, but yeah, that's the way it went. And I went to work. Well, about 9 o'clock that night, the production manager shows up. And he walks into the studio, and he's with his boyfriend. He's in a Peter Pan outfit, complete with the little green hat and the tights and everything else. And his boyfriend is dressed as Tinkerbell. So he introduced his boyfriend. I was like, yeah, nice to meet you. Shook hands with him and such. And I was being pleasant and, nice guy, because I am. Sometimes. Sometimes I'm not. So anyways, he takes one look at me and he says, I thought I told everybody to come into work in a costume. And I looked at her and I said, yeah, I did. And I opened up the black leather vest, showed him the Muff Diver, Cozumel Muff Divers t-shirt and whatnot. And he says, then what did you come as? And I looked him dead square in the eye. I came as a heterosexual. Oh, I thought his head was going to spin off his neck. It was going around so damn hard. And while that's going on, there's his boyfriend off on the side, laughing into his hand again, and joy and the laughter in his eyes was a wonderful thing to see because he got the joke. needless to say, me and the program director, we just didn't get along too well after that. But that's the way it goes. I mean, things happen in radio. Now I got one more story for you. This is the last story I'm going to tell you tonight. And then we're going to take this recording. We're going to upload it to YouTube to John Sees, as in grep, the world, or is it sees, as in seeing? I call this the Joe West story. Now down here in Texas, evangelical preachers and these evangelical churches of God the Almighty on the hilltop and something about a cross, they're all over the damn place. You've got these people all, just preaching away and whatnot. Well, there was a guy here in San Antonio at the time. I don't even know if he's still around or not. The Reverend Joe West had one of the biggest, television congregations in the world. I mean, Joe was just that guy. He wore the funky looking suit and had the hair that just sort of flipped up and whatnot. And when he spoke, I spoke to God today, and God told me that I needed to come on this program, and I needed to tell you about God and being saved and perdition and whatever. So he was on the program with our host, Alan Dale, who's gone now. Good friend of mine. He was a good guy. And that particular day, I wore a baseball jersey to work. Now, you have to understand, they're in their studio with their mics, and they're having their conversation on the air. I'm in the studio next to them with a big picture window between us so that Alan could see me cueing him in and out of breaks and things of that nature. And I'm wearing this baseball jersey, and it literally said, Cunnilingus spoken here, fluently. Because I had forgotten that we were having the Reverend Joe West on the program that day. Needless to say, I did what I could to kind of hide things and whatnot, but eventually, Joe got what was on the shirt and wasn't too happy with it. And when I turned the mics off and during commercial breaks or whatnot, he had words with Alan. Now, Alan Dale, he was sort of trapped in there because he had no use of his legs and he had to use crutches to get around. So he couldn't go anywhere. He just had to sit there and listen to Joe go on and on and on. Needless to say, I was told the next day by my program director, John, do not wear that shirt to work again. I love the shirt. By the way, he literally did that. And from that day forward, I was not allowed to wear that shirt. It got to the point where they would be waiting for me at the front door when I would come into work in the morning, and they would preview my clothing. Okay, you can wear that. Okay, turn that inside out. What the hell? But anyways, that was the Reverend Joe West story. That's all the stories I have for you today. And we're going to do different things. Sock monkey! Look at the sock monkey. He wants you. Okay, so does Uncle Sam, but what the hell. So, until the next time, this is John Castillo. Yes, I want you to know my last name. I want to be famous. And this is John Sees, as in grep, the world. Or is it sees, as in seeing? I don't know. You have yourself a good day, and bye-bye.